Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. I am Lori Hinz, and with me, I'm very happy to have tonight Mike Blessum from Minot, North Dakota. He is a Dakota Editorial Board Member for the Dakotan. The Dakotan is a new news source that you may or may not have heard of. I've heard of it. I am signed up for the email list, so I get updates from the Dakotan daily, which I absolutely love. And I just thought it would be great to have you on and just talk a little bit about alternative media.
Yeah, we're glad to be here. Yeah.
So you are on the board and probably one of the main originators of this. And I do not honestly know the genesis of this. I do not know the story of how this entity came to be. So you're going to have to fill me and also our viewers in on how the Dakotan started.
Sure. So going back to the spring of last year, there was a lot of political activity going on, as there always is in reorg years, and I was able to reconnect with actually the brother of a friend of mine from high school named Jay Lundeen. Jay is a district chair in District 40 in the Republican Party, and Jay had an idea for a new news source. And that was the Dakotan. We didn't know the name at the time. We went through a bunch of different names, a lot of different iterations of where we were headed. But I was one of the first few people Jay talked to real seriously about it. And very early on, he said, Mike, I need you on our board. I need you to help me build this into what it needs to be.
Well, it is an amazing news source, and is it online only? It's an online news source, so it's not over the air or TV, but you do have photographers and editors, and you have writers and all of the things that a traditional news source would have, but they're all pretty much North Dakotan local.
Yeah, exactly. That really is the focus. You know, our vision from the very beginning has been to provide local news. What we felt is that there was an underserved segment in the state. You know, we weren't getting enough of the local stories. So, you know, if you take a look at the different news sources that are out there in the state right now, it's a healthy mix of local as well as national stories that are going on. They're affiliated with the AP or other news sources, and they're pulling those stories in, and that's important. People should read those. You know, we expect them to go and do that. But if you come to the Dakotan, we want you to get North Dakota flavor. Focused on North
You're just
Dakota.
filling a void. There is a niche there that is underserved.
Exactly.
And so you're doing these stories. So when you started, you had to hire people. So did you find, I'm wondering if maybe there were people who were in traditional mainstream press who felt like the mainstream left them and they loved what they did. I'm just guessing here because I know that with a lot of those big conglomerates, they eat up people and spit them out, and they aren't able to do that because they're, like you said, they're taking rip and read from the AP, they're taking other news sources, and they're not necessarily going out, and it's not traditional reporting anymore.
Right. Things have changed a lot. So, you know, I think one of the things that we decided very early on that we were going to be online only. We were going to focus in the online space because it allowed us a lot of flexibility. So on one hand, you have the ability to go up with something extremely quickly. As an example, in the last month or so here, the Anita Knutson case in Minot, we were one of the first news sources to have that up. And we were able to get out on site and carry the news conference and all of that straight from our website. We didn't have to wait for the next press time. It was up very quickly. Now, on the flip side of that also, as you mentioned with folks that were leaving regular media to come and work for us, we also could offer a little flexibility because you didn't have a press time. You didn't have those things, so you could put the time and effort into the story that you wanted. And so, you know, we thought that was important. And, you know, probably the best example of that is Kim Fundingsland. It's not that he was unhappy where he was, but we were able to offer him an opportunity to come over and be one of the main players and the main writers. You know, and Kim's an icon in the Minot area news.
Sure.
And so he's a guy who, you know, whether it's outdoors or, you know, Second Amendment things, Kim is a guy that all of us love to read, and we love to see what's in that front page email every morning from Kim.
It is. It's a good thing. I would recommend just signing up for it too. I have this site. There it is, mydakotan.com, and you can. It is the Dakotan website, mydakotan.com, and I really like it because I see different reporting. I see stories that I don't see everywhere else. You get, like you said, a little more in depth, which I really appreciate as well.
Right, and example of that, you know, early on when we were talking to people about where we were headed, one of the pictures that I always gave them, I don't know if you remember the story from during the last legislative session down here in Bismarck. There was a story that suddenly hit, I think in the Tribune is the main place it was, that there was a building in North Bismarck that the state was leasing for, they were on the hook for millions of dollars over the next few years. When that story came out, I think it was 5 or 6 sentences.
Yep.
And that's all we got.
That's all you got, right?
And so the picture that I tried to give our team as we were starting to develop things was, I want the next layer. You know, within a half hour, I went online and figured out who owned it, who leased it, who is all involved in it. And what I tried to help our team understand was that there's a layer that's not being done here right now. There's a layer of investigative reporting that's possible, and we're just scratching the surface. Now, I wouldn't say we're all the way there yet. The Dakotan's got a long way to go to get to what it can be down the road, but we're on the right track.
Well, it's just a baby news source.
It is. It's you know, I guess we're from launch, we're only about 6 months old.
Right.
So we're really just getting going.
But what an opportunity, too, for those people who are great writers, not really using their skill, probably getting a lot of flexibility with the Dakotan, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly. You know, a great example of that is Amy Allender. So Amy is, you know, came with the Air Force to Minot and has really made it her home, and that's what she writes about. She writes about the idea that she's not from around here, and she gets, it can be comical, it can be, I think there are times when North Dakotans will cringe just a little because Amy will kind of point at things that we maybe feel a little bit funny about when she says them, but it's all in fun. And she's just trying to point out some of the wonderful things. You know, an article in the last few weeks that she had out was about Grand March at prom.
Yes.
And just how great it was that all the kids got to strut their stuff sort of on the catwalk.
And that's not a normal thing what she was used to.
Apparently not. I mean, that's what we all do.
Apparently that's just a North Dakota thing? I didn't know. I didn't realize that either, too, until I read that. That's funny. The other thing is, I like that the Dakotan covers lots of different things, particularly for Minot. I like to see what's going on in Minot, and you guys do a really good job of covering what is going on in that community. It's a really busy community.
Yeah, and you know, part of our original vision is we really do want to grow it to every community and cover it that way. Minot is where we're based, and so that's where we've got our best coverage right now. But over the next couple of years, you're going to see that. You're going to see that grow to cover Bismarck, to cover Fargo, Grand Forks, all the way across the state, and then into the small communities. Kim Fundingsland's done a great job of going out, and you know, he did a story in rugby that was one of our best stories, one of the highest read stories that we've had, mainly because that community got behind it and passed it around to each other.
Sure.
And so we love that. We're North Dakotans, all of us, and that's what we want.
You sound a lot like what we are doing here at Beck, actually. Yeah, it's the same. I think we have parallel ideas, very similar goals to give people just a little alternative in their TV viewing and with your online stuff. Exactly. So you would recommend people sign up for it's very easy to do.
Yeah.
Sign up for
if you go onto the site, you know, if you go on your phone, you can go to the menu on mydakotan.com and just click the subscribe button. There's a couple different options for you. The main one I would say is that front page. I know I arrive at my office a little before 7 every day. It gets there right then.
Yep.
I have a cup of coffee. I read through the stories, and then I'm ready for the day.
Yeah.
It serves exactly what a newspaper always has for many people.
Used to do.
And it's right there. Exactly.
Used to do.
Exactly.
And it's a lot easier to read too. You don't get ink on your hands. We were talking a little bit in the past segment about what you do, but I think it is a very unique situation where you not only get in depth with things, Mike, with the Dakotan, but you also are doing some actual investigative reporting on things as well. You don't just take things as at face value. We were talking, for instance, about previously you covered a press conference. Let's talk to that.
Yeah, so there was a state committee meeting of the Republican Party on December 18th here in Bismarck. And during that, a few things happened. Some district chairs and others decided to walk out. You were a part of that team, Lori. On the following Monday, that was a Saturday. On the following Monday, the team that did that held a press conference to be very clear about why that occurred, to make sure that people understood, you know, the things that were going on around appointed chairs and people not being represented. And one of the things that the Dakotan chose to do that day was to bring video, because we wanted it done completely in the words of the people involved rather than reporting on it.
Right.
It was just a different way to do it. And you know, we are an alternative source. That was our choice.
Well, and we partnered with you with Beck and broadcast it as well,
exactly,
too, on our channel. So.
Exactly right. And so, those are the things that I think the alternative media are doing right now to make sure people are getting the full story. Because the story that was done in the paper and online for the Tribune showed one of the leaders, again, Jay Lundeen, who, involved in the Dakotan, with an unflattering picture, a moment in time taken out of a long press conference, really to portray him in a way that's not true, in my eyes. I mean, that's my personal opinion, and that was done on purpose. I don't think there's any question that it was. And so, I would encourage people, seek out more than what you see. Don't just take things at face value. Find sources that you trust, and then continue to check those sources and make sure that you can trust them long term. Because people change, things change, and you don't want to be fooled by what someone else wants you to think about something.
Right, and that's the mainstream media in a nutshell, right there, giving you a skewed view of things. I mean, Ukraine. Russia.
Virus.
I mean, how do you even discern? Well, the people in North Dakota, I posit that the people in North Dakota are very discerning. I find people in North Dakota very precise. They're interested. They're engaged in the news. I don't think that every part of the country is like we are in North Dakota with that. Very intelligent, very discerning, critical thinking skills. And it was evident at the state convention when we had 2,300 delegates and a grand total of 1 spoiled ballot. Now that speaks volumes to me that people are really paying attention, even though they may not even know what was going on at the time.
Yeah, exactly. That is the truth, and that's why a lot of what the Dakotan is doing is trying to engage those people and give them an alternative source to use their discernment to figure out what it is that they believe. I mean, those examples from the convention are amazing ones. Just the record numbers that were there at the convention, and the level of involvement that people were bringing. I mean, they were spending a lot of money, taking time out of their day during spring when it was starting to get nice, to come and try to affect the direction of our state and the direction of the Republican Party.
I saw some very good coverage, too, and lots of different stories, too, not just one story either on the Dakotan.
Yeah, and one of the things I loved after talking to the team that came back is they said the politicians, legislators, high-ranking officials in the party and in the state government were now seeking out the Dakotan to make sure that they were the ones that they were able to talk to. And that's wonderful. And that has nothing to do with party or affiliation or anything like that, but the Dakotan is now being recognized as an important news source in the state. And that is one where, Jeremy was doing one-on-one interviews. That's that's up on the YouTube page that's linked over from the site. We had Rod Wilson there, who's sort of the head guy behind the scenes.
I got to meet him.
Does some writing. Rod's a wonderful man. My wife and I have known him for a long time. An old school news guy, but really helping us lead the charge on the Dakotan.
Like, though.
I know. I love the guy.
That's a dying breed. It's gone. I grieve the actual investigative reporter that used to be at radio stations. None of them has any reporters anymore. None. Exactly. And so this is a wonderful timing with the My Dakotan.
Yeah, it is. It is. We've got a lot of people that are really starting to sign up. I was talking to Rod earlier today. We just passed the 5,000 mark in our subscriber list, and he expects it to double in the next 30 days.
Oh, that's thrilling.
And so it's really ramping up quickly now, and that's a great thing. One of the things Jay Lundeen going into this as the owner of it has never expected this to be a big winner for him when it comes to the business itself. He's always looked at it as he's providing a service to the community, to the country and state that he loves, and if it can break even, wonderful. And so that's really the philosophy that we've brought to this thing, is that we're a community service, and we're going to make sure that people have a good picture of this state and the things that are really going on.
It's a labor of love. So do you have any goals for the Dakotan?
We do. As I mentioned, we've kind of taken that path now that we're really growing quickly. A couple things that I've laid out for the team. One is, we're in an election year right now. I would really love for us to be election central in North Dakota. You look at a state like Iowa. Everybody knows the Des Moines Register. If you follow politics, you sort of know that that's the main polling place. That's the main place you go to get your information. I've laid out for our team a goal that we will be that for the state of North Dakota. Now that's a big goal. That's a stretch goal. There are major players in this state that try to do that, but I believe we can get there. I believe if we focus on it, we can beat that.
And with the transparency that you have at the Dakotan, you're really good about getting that information to people in a very clear manner. I'm thinking debates and things like that would be right up your alley, right?
Absolutely, and that's some of the discussion that we're having right now is to head down that path. We've got a lot of local races, especially in the Minot area, that we'd like to do that. We'd also like to look at some of the bigger things that are going on around the state. So whether it's the Senate race or whichever one it is, the Dakotan wants to be at the table when those big debates happen, and we're committed to doing that.
Well, in the last couple of minutes here, speak to the staff that you have. That is a big undertaking, starting from scratch, from nothing, and then hiring people, getting them set up to do what they need to do.
It is, and again, back to the original vision. Jay doesn't do anything small. I like that about him. He's a guy that I really like to work with because he helps me think bigger than I should. But yeah, we've got, it's always hard to keep up with the total stable of writers, but we've literally got, 20 to 25 right now.
Wow.
People that are writing, doing different things, columns, doing news work for us. Just to mention a couple others, I mentioned Kim Fundingsland. Lydia Hoverson, a young lady, was writing at the convention this week, was writing at the Democratic convention a few weeks ago, and just doing some wonderful things for us. A girl at 20 years old that wants to be a writer and is doing that for us. Beyond that, Charlene Nelson writing about food and cooking and just other things that come about. So, there's hard news, there's columns, there's opinion. Greg Demme has done a bunch of the harder opinion pieces that have come out, and those are things that are, part of our world.
I really like his writing. I like Greg Demme a lot. I got to meet him, and he's excellent. He's excellent.
Exactly. And so Greg continues to write for us. So we've got a great stable of writers now, and it's growing all the time. It seems like every morning there's a new writer that I see in there, and like, Marvin Baker from up by the border talking about Canadian things and things that are happening with the trucker convoy that was going on up there, and the North Dakota connections there. Always bringing it back to the state. Always having that North Dakota angle that people here are looking for.
Well, you can find all of this information and more at the Dakotan website, which is mydakotan.com. It's on your screen right now. Make sure to mark that down. Pause your TV if you need to write it down, and be sure to get signed up for the subscription. It is definitely worth it. Very, very good information, Mike Blessum. Thank you very much for being here and coming all the way from Minot to do so.
Great to see you,
I very much appreciate it.